My name is Efren Salazar with the Wake Up Thanks Solutions podcasting, and here's Ziggiz. Can you tell me a little bit more about your company?
Hi, everybody. My name is Larry Switzer. I run sales for the Americas for Ziggiz. And what we have done is created a cyber data plane that allows companies to move from the integrated cyber search solutions to cyber analytics. So we built a solution on top of Databricks that allows us to automate all ingest. And then we can then route data via a very sophisticated semantic layer to where you want it to go. And it works such that no matter how many number of, let's say, for instance, you have Palo Alto checkpoints, different versions, it's just a firewall. It then will heal itself if there's any changes that you make, so you get rid of the army of data engineer. We then will store the data natively in S3, compressed via RK. DARPA initially funded us to create this solution because nothing existed that allowed specifically healthcare initially to operate in this new environment of AI attacks. And then at the massive scale, upwards of petabytes of data we want to ingest. So the initial benchmark for us was about 25 times more efficient than any SIEM that exists. That includes cloud SIEMs. We do detections about 980 times faster because we do them on the stream. We can enhance data on the stream as well, geolocation, other things, threat identifications, etc. And obviously our storage is going to be a fraction of the cost of what anybody else does. So in essence, we set companies up in this new world of AI and able to ingest all the data, the large log sources, the use cases that they can't currently do because they can't afford to ingest that amount of data. And then build the use cases such as, I want to know what my assets are accurately. I'd like to know what my blast radius is if I have an intrusion. Who does it touch? So we do all the joints. We look at the toxic combinations. And then start writing maybe additional use cases that they couldn't do by leveraging Databricks, SQL, or Sigma to create additional things. They have an orderly way to move forward to cover their entire cyber estate, and then plug in different tools because since we are a bit on top of Databricks, Splunk, we're Delta Share, so we're wide open. So you can plug and play. We have an ecosphere of partners we work with, like Alpha Level, that does very sophisticated detection engineering based on statistics and ML that you can just plug and play. So it allows you to quickly pilot POCs on additional solutions that you may want to leverage. You have full control of your data. You have one source of it. You can control who you share it to, all the users that can touch it. You can take those permissions away. So we check all the boxes at massive scale, petabytes. That a lot of people approached it from, like I said initially, a cyber search world. Everything was based on a search vector. You're searching for something. So everybody took that approach and used that compute that's associated with that. For instance, like Google runs BigQuery. BigQuery does not run ML at massive scale very well. It's highly inefficient. Splunk was created before the iPhone. So nobody envisioned this type of data flow with all the different sources and types of logs that you have, and then enabled to do pure analytics. So everybody is chasing that search technology instead of coming at it purely from an analytics perspective. So there's people that do pieces of what we do. The SIEMs, if you want to continue to use the SIEM and you want us to control the data first, you absolutely can do that. There's some people that just do data pipelining, but they don't do semantic layers. Their value prop is essentially to destroy data because your SIEM is too expensive to ingest, so they're just doing that, and then you can't use it again. You can't create a data lake after the fact if you didn't start out from the beginning to be pure analytics. So I think this is the next generation, and we're positioning people to have all the pillars to be able to live in an AI analytics world.
Now you mentioned about AI. Are you guys implementing AI on your platform as well?
Yeah, I think what happened is AI really sped up the inflection point where people needed to change the way they're going to handle their data. Because AI is an LLM. So first letter is language, right? So you need to have the semantics of cyber's hundreds of different languages, right? So we create that semantic layer of language that then the AI can interact with. And also gives you security around what data you want to give it access to and be able to get that access away from one source of the truth without copying. And I hear a customer say, I've got data puddles everywhere. And not one is really the source of truth.
In that perspective, you guys are utilizing AI platform and everything else. And what would you see the future of AI from your perspective?
I think that The use cases, obviously there's use cases that are coming out that people hear a lot about, automating functions. Maybe some of it's low value human function, which makes a lot of sense. But I think it's just going to continue forward, especially be driven more from the adversarial point of view, because they will use it. They only have to be successful once to get in. So we have to be able to combat that in layers. And it's really important. The only way you can do that is via analytics, because you need to look at people get in via spear phishing, the impersonation of identities. And so you have to look for behaviors that don't fit what you'd expect, and then use the automation to bubble that up so that you still have humans in the loop that have to do analytics, but you're giving them all the information, and they know they have all the information in order to deal with an intrusion. And that's another really important part, because with current architectures, they really are never quite sure, do I have it?
I see. And for this company, what do you think, what type of clientele would you guys have? Do you guys offer to small companies, small business, medium business, or the whole enterprise?
I think it's more of the amount of data that they're trying to deal with. Typically, we're seeing above 5 terabytes. People are becoming very interested in this, but we're talking to companies that hundreds of terabytes that they have no way to manage. And we find many of them have a lot of their estates not even covered because they can't get the data to one place, and they've had different pools, and they may do endpoint separate from a SIEM, and they don't ingest endpoint data to the SIEM, or they'll just send alerts from the endpoint to the SIEM, and they've bubblegum and bailing wire all together. But there's small companies that have a lot of data too that want to get control. But the way that we've written it's highly efficient, so it changes that price paradigm. Because remember, we were initially funded to help nonprofit hospitals, and we do nonprofit hospitals at our cost. So we're working with MD Anderson at the CISO level to basically go in and say, let's change the whole price model and how you're addressing it. So we're significantly less than any other architecture that's out there because of our Splunk underlying.
You're talking about hospitals as well. Let's get a little bit deeper into that. So what do you think about you mentioned that you guys are helping the nonprofit organizations, the hospitals, and what do you see the change on the hospitals and different enterprises? Do you see a big change on your services with them?
I think what's happened with them, and obviously DARPA was saying that, and you've heard in the press, are giant hacks like United Healthcare, but there's other ones like in England where the Russian Federation attacked a hospital, froze up, and then it impacted life care in ICUs for children. And our CEO said when he heard that story, he ran all security architecture at HSBC, where he did this the first time commercially. He did this initially within the Intel agency. So it came from that. So DARPA came to him because they knew who he was and said, can you help us? Because these hospitals aren't going to be able, they can't hire the people, they can't spend the money, they don't have the infrastructure. Can you help us? Because it's now impacting lives. We are going to build what we have built. And it's also multi-tenant, so if hospital organizations want to come together and have one pool that allows one organization to perhaps run an MSSP for them, or one organization offer it to the others, kind of parent-child, they'll be able to do that. So we're bringing all the best and brightest of capabilities of cyber to them without them having to have all the people and infrastructure and able to do it. So we will significantly impact their cost structure. Yeah, I think we're early. We just raised our Series A. DARPA continues to fund us. We're what in the government calls a Cyber Phase 2. So DARPA funds pilots that we do with the government under the understanding that organization then will fund the production version of it. They continue to fund us. We'll have FedRAMP High within the year. We just got more funding to do that. We're on Carousel contracts, so you can buy us now. So we're very easy to deal with on the government sector, and we can scale.
We got a lot of details into it. What would you see? How do you see this company going in the future? Do you see you guys start moving forward for new changes, new implementation? What would you see?
Yeah, so we're obviously targeted larger enterprises, highly regulated industries, healthcare. We're a couple of big pharma companies, banks, insurance companies, but also other service providers like Big Five that may want to provide cyber data lakes to their customers, and they can write their content on top of us and then provide that. Because we can wedge in, we can be a white box to an MSSP. We have MSSP customers that we're replacing their very expensive and complicated elastic backends So we'll morph and continue to grow, but Venture Guides just did our Series A. So I project massive growth, 300% plus growth per year for us. I think that we hear a lot more about us. Databricks also invested in us, obviously, because we're built on Ecosphere. They announced LakeWatch, and we're a big part of how you get data into LakeWatch and operate, and because we can turn on in days because of our ability to automate the ingest. Within 12 months, you'll be able to access us on AWS Marketplace, download your own version. So we're going to make it very easy for whatever size you are, because it'll just be a product, click down and boom, you've got a data pipeline.
So we see a promising future.
Absolutely. I think this is a massive space that can be addressed. And like I said, we're not saying replace your SIEM right now, but you have all your choices open. You do not have to buy one platform that covers your endpoint, firewalls, SIEM, because you need to get to a common data model to run ML. That's like antiquated thinking. That's crazy. You should deal with your data first and then pick what you want. You want CrowdStrike in the endpoint, then use it. If you want to use some other SIEM or some advanced tools, if you want to plug in some of the latest and greatest AI detection engineering on top of it, you've got to be able to feed the data. We can do that. So I think this is going to open the door for a massive change in cyber without people saying, well, I just see this thing going up every year, 10, 15%. It gets bigger and bigger. And feels like I'm becoming more and more beholden to the same vendor, and I'm getting locked in. And that's not really where cyber people want to be. So I think we give a very real alternative to that with some super smart people here that, as I said, we're funded by DARPA. Our CEO was doctor in ML AI, ran all this at HSBC, the Intel agencies, and then the entire Ecosphere brought with him as well. And then all the advisors and relationships we have, you can check us out and see it.
We're in RSA. What do you think of RSA today? How things
I think
RSA 2026, what was a big change for you? And how do you like this?
It's amazing. And being in San Francisco, and you don't see, I'm from back east, you don't see the Waymo cars and all the crazy. There's a lot of cool stuff here. There's a lot of really smart people here, robots and all kinds of cool stuff. And that's fun, because that's the fun part of it. Everybody wants to see what's in the future. And I think San Francisco's done an amazing job hosting RSA. And I was very pleasantly surprised based on some of the things that I've heard in the past and have been here before. So I think that's great. But I think that the future, we just scratched the surface in AI. I see it like when the internet came out in 2000, and then this big hype, and then it drops, and then it settles, and then it just takes off. I think we're still a little bit in the hype cycle. There's some really good uses for AI, but I think the future's wide open, and it just takes very creative people. People's jobs aren't going away. They just have to be more creative on the use of technology. We have a technology that we really don't quite know how to use yet. I heard someone talk about, like, when the computer first came out, people didn't really know, they didn't have the programming in order to take full advantage of the compute. And then it caught up. So it takes a while. So I think part of that's happening now, where people are starting to write the programming of AI that can take advantage of this compute. So I'm really excited. I think there's going to be some really cool stuff. And I look at my grandfather, who was born in the same house in Western Pennsylvania. The only time he left was to fight World War II. He came home, and I saw pictures. He literally rode with a horse and sold eggs in town on a cart. And then at the end, fought a world war, and then saw men land on the moon. And I think the innovation cycle is just going to speed up. And this is the perfect example. You know, when I have grandkids, we'll see what crazy stuff we go.
I'll do agree on that. That is something that I love. I can also see the technology really moving so fast. Like, especially with now the AI is coming up, it's so expedited.
Yeah, would you have thought 5 years ago you'd look out and see a pack of automated cars and they'll be in them? And you're just amazed watching how they navigate the streets and go around people. And to me, like in traffic, how they can let people cross in the street. And when you ride in them, they're actually way smoother than a human drive. They're more consistent. It's not the stop start. And you literally, I thought I feel more comfortable than with an Uber driver, because I trust the computer's analytics and its decision making based on all the data that it has and where it is, more than I do a person that I don't know. So you would never, 5 years ago, never thought of that. And that's a perfect example. Yeah, and someone needs to handle all that data on the back end.
I know you mentioned about the AIs and moving transitioning to different roles and being more creative about it. I know this has been a topic for a lot of people in the industry. What do you think about AI running jobs or AI jobs or AI doing different jobs?
I think that AI it's automation. We've been through mechanical automation. It's just automation that we have the compute in order to automate a mundane task. And I think that's a good thing because there's critical technology and educated resources to be used in other areas. We're hearing like we don't have enough technically trained people. So people, I think, there's disruption because people were doing one thing and now they have to do another, but they were smart. They were doing what they were doing. They just need to move on. And that's the nature of technology. You constantly evolve. And if people decide they don't want to evolve, then you stay where you are. So I think that it'll create just more and more opportunities. And I like the fact that it makes people be more critical thinkers because in order to use an LLM, you have to know the questions to ask, right? People are doing all the work and feeding it data models, and there's that whole piece. How do I make that better? But to really use it, you need to be able to think critically. So what questions? Because I'll sit in a meeting, you watch one person structure something from AI very quickly, and then somebody do something totally different. And one's a way better product. And they use the same exact tool and had the same exact data, but they asked it different questions.
That technology, how things are moving forward. What crazy things have you seen here in RSA? I know you mentioned about the cars, you mentioned about the technology, the robot, anything.
There's a lot of cool things that people are doing around AI, around. They're obviously penetrating. Fantastic. That's really great. I think there's a lot of confusion as to how AI can be used effectively. I don't think there's any such thing as a agentic SOC right now. I don't think MTTR less than a minute exists because of the way things are set up, because it can take an hour to get the data out of CrowdStrike. And in CrowdStrike does this actions, well, it doesn't do it on the stream. It has to put data in and then has to process it, right? So you have to be able to operate in real time and do analytics. So I think there's still people pasting AI on top of antiquated approaches and then saying we're agentic. And everybody, it's crazy. It's not. There is no hands-free touch automated SOC with NTTR less than 10 minutes, let alone less than 1 minute. I'm dying. If somebody has it, I want to see it. I'm dying to see it because that'd be really cool. But with the current technology being used, I don't know how they would do it. It defies the laws of physics. So I think there's a lot of confusion around that. And it has to do with the business models of how technologies evolve and you get innovator's dilemma and you're still stuck in this model. But that's how you've always made money. And are you willing to destroy what you have to go the other way? Every company tries to do that in some form, but I think there's a lot of companies, most aren't capable of it. So I just read an article from A16Z talking about one of the key enablers or differentiators for maybe a new startup is their business model. Because the other company can't react to that business model because they are set a certain way that they charge customers. And if somebody says, no, I'm different, and it directly impacts, they can't just switch. Like we're pure consumption based art. So it can really hurt.
What do you recommend? Any audiobooks? Do you recommend for anybody who's coming in the industry?
I think it's really good to follow some of the key VCs, venture guides, different people like that, and what they're looking at. Look at who they're investing in, because you'll understand where's the thought leadership. Look who the top VCs are investing in, what they're going after. And then there's obviously leaders, Palo Alto's, CrowdStrike, people like that, Zscaler. You can read like what they're doing and things like that. But I think you got to find people that are experts in certain areas that have done it. Not just academia, but people have done it. And just get involved with the groups and go out and have discussions, because you learn by doing and you learn by interacting with people. Training's great, but it's still not the same as actually doing it. So I think you need to see what the leaders are doing, see where they're investing, where the markets are going, read stories, but get engaged with groups, with people that are working on leading edge things. and just keep at it. Don't be discouraged, because I always say in life, a baseball player can hit 300 and is a superstar. So life is about what you do when you fail, right? Humans were deserved to be uncomfortable. I think we were designed to be uncomfortable, because when we're uncomfortable, we evolve and we innovate. So be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So always challenge yourself.
So how can they find you?
You can find me Ziggiz, Larry.Switzer at Ziggiz.ai. We've got the cool business cards. So you can find me at Ziggiz.
How'd you hear about me? How'd you get that? Find
Oh, no, I saw you here at RSA and interacted with some cool people, and I just wanted to say hi.